judging the worst game consoles ever, a necessity for gracious living. Ugh. Today I bring you an intriguing topic that will spark some heated debate. We will discuss the top 10 worst game consoles as determined by Chat-GPT. You know, that terrifying AI bot destined to not only take all of our jobs but destroy humanity as we know it. Before we begin, it's important to note that this list is based on factors such as critical reception, commercial success, and overall impact on the gaming industry. So join me on this AI adventure covering some of the most maligned machines ever. I am Lady Decade, and these are the worst ever game consoles according to Chat-GPT. But first, a word from our sponsor. Check out this game, Pixel Starships. They've even created a pixel version of the Starship in the game to celebrate the Starship test launch. In Pixel Starships, you can build and manage your own starship in an MMO world. Command every aspect of your ship, from power systems to crew to mining and battles. You can trade or battle with millions of other players. This game can be played on mobile and on your computer. It's amazing. One of the things that I loved about this game is how satisfying it felt to build and improve upon my ship and crew. It's highly gratifying to become more formidable than my opponents when facing off against them in PvP battles. It's really simple, pick up and play, perfect for busy adults like myself who have a lot of multitasking on their hands. I even have a quick burst of play while waiting for the dinner to cook. The game is continually updated with new content and is not pay to win. Download the game from the link and receive 100 free Starbucks on arrival. Then enter the promo code LadyDecade125 after registering to get an additional 125 Starbucks. Once again, a huge thank you to Pixel Starships for sponsoring this video. Number 10. The Ouya. The Ouya was a microconsole released in 2013. It was developed by a company called Ouya Incorporated. The console was designed to be an affordable alternative to traditional gaming consoles, aiming to bring indie games and a more open platform to the living room. It gained attention through a successful Kickstarter campaign, raising over $8 million in funding. The Ouya console was a small cube-shaped device running on the Android operating system. It featured an NVIDIA Tegra 3 processor, 1GB of RAM, and 8GB of internal storage. It supported both digital downloads and free-to-play games, and its controller was similar to traditional game controllers with dual analog sticks, a D-pad, and buttons. While the Ouya generated significant hype prior to its release, it faced challenges and ultimately struggled to gain widespread popularity. Despite having a strong launch with hundreds of games available, the console suffered from performance and quality issues. The limited library of exclusive games, lack of major third-party developer support, and competition from other more established consoles were significant factors in its decline. In 2015, Razer, a gaming hardware company, acquired Ouya Incorporated and its software assets. This acquisition led to the discontinuation of the Ouya hardware, but some of its concepts and ideas influenced subsequent gaming platforms and the indie game development scene. Number 9. The Apple Pippin. The Apple Pippin is a gaming console released by Apple Incorporated in 1996. It was designed as a multimedia entertainment system and aimed to combine the functionality of a game console and a computer. The Pippin was based on the PowerPC architecture and featured a 66MHz PowerPC 603 processor, 5MB of RAM, and a 14.4 kilobits per second modem. The console was a collaborative project between Apple and Bandai, a Japanese toy company. Bandai manufactured and distributed the Pippin in Japan, while Apple handled the distribution in the United States and other markets. However, the Pippin did not gain significant traction in the gaming market and was discontinued shortly after its release. The Apple Pippin was designed to be an open platform that could run both specially developed Pippin games and Macintosh software. It used a modified version of the Macintosh operating system, System 7.5.2, and featured a CD-ROM drive for software and game distribution. Despite its technical capabilities, the Pippin struggled to attract consumers due to its high price, limited game library, and competition from established game consoles such as the Sony PlayStation and Sega Saturn. Additionally, the Pippin's lack of exclusive titles and its identity as a hybrid game console and a computer made it a challenging product to market effectively. Overall, the Apple Pippin was considered a commercial failure and discontinued within a year of its release. Its limited production run and lack of market success have made it a relatively obscure and rare console among collectors and gaming enthusiasts. Number 8. The Mattel HyperScan. The Mattel HyperScan was a video game console released by Mattel in 2006. It was designed as a gaming system targeted at younger audiences and featured interactive gameplay using physical game cards. The HyperScan utilised a unique concept where games were stored on individual plastic game cards. These cards contained RFID chips that could be scanned by the console's built-in card reader. Players could swap out game cards to switch between different titles. The console itself had limited processing power and lacked traditional disc-based media or online connectivity. Instead, it relied on the RFID cards to unlock and load game content. The gameplay mainly involved using the console's controller to interact with the games. The HyperScan attempted to combine video games with physical collectible cards, similar to trading card games. However, the console faced several challenges and was met with mixed reviews. It struggled to gain traction in the competitive gaming market due to various factors, including a limited game library, lackluster graphics, and limited marketing efforts. Ultimately, the Mattel HyperScan was discontinued within a year of its release, making it a relatively short-lived console. Despite its brief lifespan, it remains a curious footnote in gaming history as an early attempt to merge traditional video games with physical card-based gameplay. Number 7. The Atari 5200. The Atari 5200 is a home video game console released by Atari Incorporated in 1982. It was designed as a successor to the popular Atari 2600 and was intended to compete with other consoles of the time, such as the Intellivision and ColecoVision. The Atari 5200 featured improved graphics and audio capabilities compared to its predecessor. It had a more advanced 8-bit architecture and offered enhanced gameplay experiences. The video game industry was experiencing rapid growth during the early 1980s, and third-party developers played a crucial role in providing a diverse range of games. However, due to the Atari 5200's complex hardware architecture and lackluster sales, many third-party developers were reluctant to invest resources in developing games for the console. This further limited the game library and hindered its overall appeal. By the time the Atari 5200 was released, the market was becoming saturated with various gaming consoles and home computers. This saturation, coupled with a general decline in consumer interest and the effects of the North American video game crash of 1983, led to a decline in sales for the Atari 5200 and the overall video game industry. Taken together, these factors, including competition, controller issues, compatibility problems, limited third-party support, and market conditions, all contributed to the failure of the Atari 5200. Number 6. The Amiga CD32. The Amiga CD32 was a 32-bit home video game console developed and released by Commodore in 1993. It was the first CD-based game console in the Amiga lineup and aimed to compete with other CD-based consoles of the time, such as the Sega CD and the upcoming Atari Jaguar. The CD32 was essentially a gaming version of the Amiga 1200 computer, featuring enhanced graphics and sound capabilities. It used CD-ROMs as its primary storage medium, allowing for larger games and multimedia experiences compared to traditional cartridges. The console featured a 14 MHz Motorola 68020 CPU, 2 MB of RAM, and a dedicated custom chipset for graphics and sound. It had a single-speed CD-ROM drive and could display up to 256 on-screen colours from a palette of 16.8 million. The CD32 also had various connectivity options, including composite and S-video outputs, audio outputs, and proprietary expansion port. The CD32 lacked certain features that were becoming increasingly important in the gaming industry. It lacked the ability to render 3D graphics, which put it at a disadvantage compared to its competitors. The CD32 faced stiff competition from other consoles and struggled to gain significant market share. Commodore faced financial difficulties and the company went bankrupt in 1994, resulting in the discontinuation of the CD32 and the end of the Amiga line. Number 5. The 3DO. The 3DO interactive multiplayer, often referred to simply as 3DO, was a home video game console released in 1993. It was developed by the 3DO company founded by Trip Hawkins, the co-founder of Electronic Arts. The console was notable for its advanced hardware specifications at the time, as well as its open platform approach. The 3DO console featured a 32-bit RISC processor, which was quite powerful for the era, and it supported high-quality full-motion video and CD-quality audio. The system was designed to be an interactive multimedia device capable of playing not only video games but also audio CDs and video CDs. One of the unique aspects of the 3DO was its open platform strategy. Unlike other consoles that were manufactured by a single company, the 3DO platform was licensed to multiple manufacturers, including Panasonic, Goldstar, now LG Electronics, and Sanyo. This approach was intended to encourage competition and drive down prices, but it also led to a fragmented software library and varying hardware designs. While the 3DO had some impressive technological features, it faced tough competition from other consoles like the Sega Genesis Mega Drive, Super Nintendo Entertainment System, and later the Sony PlayStation and Sega Saturn. The high price tag of the 3DO console and the lack of a strong lineup of exclusive games contributed to its limited success in the market. Ultimately, the 3DO console was discontinued in 1996, with the 3DO company transitioning to focus on software development. Despite its commercial failure, the 3DO platform left a lasting impact on the industry, influencing future consoles with its emphasis on multimedia capabilities and CD-based games. Number 4. The PCFX. The PCFX is a home video game console developed and released by NEC Corporation in Japan in 1994. It was intended to be a successor to NEC's previous console, the PC Engine, known as the TurboGrafx-16 in North America, but it did not achieve the same level of success. The PCFX was designed to be a multimedia platform that could play not only games, but also CD-ROM based entertainment such as anime, movies, and interactive software. It had enhanced audio and video capabilities compared to its predecessor, with support for full-motion video and a dedicated graphics chip for 3D rendering. However, its processing power was relatively weak compared to other consoles of its time, and its library of games was limited. The PCFX struggled to gain traction in the market due to several factors. Its high price, lack of third-party developer support, and limited game library were some of the main reasons for its commercial failure. Additionally, the emergence of more powerful consoles like the Sony PlayStation and Sega Saturn further overshadowed the PCFX. As a result, the PCFX had a relatively short lifespan, with around only 60 games released for the system. It was primarily popular among niche audiences in Japan, particularly those interested in anime and visual novels. It remains a relatively obscure console compared to its contemporaries. Number 3. The Atari Jaguar. The Atari Jaguar is a gaming console that was released by Atari Corporation in 1993. It was Atari's last home video game console and was intended to compete with the Super Nintendo Entertainment System and Sega Genesis. The Jaguar was marketed as the first 64-bit gaming system, although the actual architecture was a bit more complex. The console featured a unique design and was notably larger than its competitors. It had a distinctive controller with a number pad, a joystick, and several buttons. The Jaguar's hardware included a 32-bit main processor called the TOM chip, as well as 2 additional processors, a 32-bit graphics processor known as the Jerry chip, and a 64-bit digital signal processor called the DSP chip. Despite its technical capabilities, the Atari Jaguar struggled in the market. Additionally, the Jaguar's library of games was limited, and many of the games that were released suffered from technical issues or lackluster gameplay. Ultimately, poor sales and a lack of third-party developer support contributed to the Jaguar's commercial failure. Atari discontinued the console in 1996, marking the end of their involvement in the hardware market. However, the Jaguar still holds a place in gaming history as one of the early attempts to introduce 64-bit gaming to the market. Number 2. The Virtual Boy. The Virtual Boy was a video game console developed and released by Nintendo in 1995. It was designed to be a portable gaming device that offered a 3D gaming experience. However, it was not a commercial success and is often considered one of Nintendo's biggest failures in the gaming industry. The Virtual Boy used a unique display technology called red and black stereoscopic 3D. The games were displayed in monochrome red and black, and the player had to look through a visor-like headset to see the 3D effect. The system created the illusion of depth by displaying different images for each eye, but the graphics were relatively simple and lacked colour. The Virtual Boy was plagued by several issues. The headset was very uncomfortable to wear for long periods, and the graphics caused eye strain and headaches for many users. The system also had a limited game library with only a few notable titles released. Additionally, the Virtual Boy's high price and lack of widespread marketing contributed to its commercial failure. Due to its poor sales and negative reception, the Virtual Boy was discontinued less than a year after its release, and Nintendo shifted its focus to other successful consoles like the Game Boy and later the Nintendo 64. The Virtual Boy remains a unique and somewhat infamous part of Nintendo's history. Number 1. The Philips CDI. The Philips CDI, also known as the Compact Disc Interactive, was a multimedia and game console developed and produced by Philips Electronics. It was first released in 1991 and aimed to combine the capabilities of a CD player with interactive multimedia features. The CDI was an innovative concept at the time, offering the ability to play standard audio CDs as well as interactive CDI titles that featured games, educational content, encyclopedias, movies, and more. It had a built-in operating system and used a specialized CD format called Green Book to store the interactive content. One of the unique features of the CDI was its use of full motion video, which allowed for more cinematic experiences compared to other game consoles of the era. The system used MPEG-1 video compression to deliver video content, although the video quality was limited by the hardware capabilities of the time. Despite its innovative features, the CDI struggled to find a wide audience and faced strong competition. It also faced challenges in terms of game development and a lack of popular and compelling titles. The CDI had a relatively short lifespan, with production ceasing in 1998. Although it didn't achieve commercial success as a game console, the CDI technology found niche applications in professional settings such as kiosks, training tools, and multimedia presentations. Today, the Philips CDI is considered a collector's item, and its library of games and interactive titles has become a curiosity for retro gaming enthusiasts. While it didn't leave a significant mark in the gaming industry, it played a role in the evolution of multimedia technology and interactive CD-based media. So that was the top 10 worst game consoles ever, according to Chat-GPT. Do you agree with this list, or are you very triggered that artificial intelligence placed your cult favourite on this list? Let me know in the comments. Thank you once again to Pixel Starships for sponsoring this video, link in the description below.